You're watching Samuel Goodwin on YouTube, and today I have 3 fairly basic Balisong tricks to try to do. So I know some of you have Balisongs, already know some tricks, probably know more tricks than me, and that's really cool. But for the rest of you, maybe you're curious, maybe you got one and you haven't got very far or something, or maybe you think maybe that's something I want to do. So I wanted to show 3 tricks that I thought were relatively easy to learn, but feel really cool and can get you started quickly. So to demonstrate today, I've got my squiddy because, especially if you just got started, you probably got some entry-level thing. And I just want to show that you don't need anything especially fancy for these, where I don't think you really need anything fancy for most tricks, but just to prove it, here's the squiddy. All right, so first trick is just a basic aerial. So first, we're just gonna hold the balisong where we're gripping one handle with all our fingers. If we had something where you could tell sides, the squiddy you can't, but if you did, we would want the sharp side to be the side we're holding on to. And so we're gonna hold it like this, but we're really gripping just the one side. So all we need to do here is let that one side loose and let it swing like that. See how it just kind of wants to swing open? And as it's swinging open, we're going to give it a little toss in the air like that so that it has a chance to spin around. And you really want to think spin more than height. We don't need it to go up super high. We just need it to go up a little bit, so we give it a little bit of toss up, and mostly we want everything to spin around. So once you get it spinning, all we have to do to catch it is just hold your hand out flat like this, and wait for the handle to land. And when it lands, if it has enough spinning force, then the other handle will come around and then you'll just have an open fake knife in your hand. This is one of the first tricks I ever learned. It took 10-20 minutes or something to figure out how to do it, and I still think it's one of the coolest tricks I know how to do. So there's all kinds of room for variations here. For example, if you do the basic open just before you go ahead and finish that off and you've just done the double rollout part, like so, then you can, from there, immediately go into your aerial. You can also, if you do give it a little more spin and a little more height, you can go for 2 rotations. You can potentially go for 3 if you really put some juice into it. And if you really want to get fancy, you can start to do the kinds of things where you throw it up maybe a bit higher and do things like catch it behind your back. Especially with aerials, I would maybe practice with a trainer first. But because we're starting with that the sharp handle, when we go to throw it, it's a pretty good chance that you're not going to have sharp handle coming towards you. You're mostly just going to have the back side of the blade coming towards your hand when you go to catch it. So you should be okay, but I've definitely had plenty of times where I catch it in such a weird way that if it was sharp, I would have probably cut myself. Another fairly basic trick they call a twirl, which is just this, and that gets you into this position. Again, this is not a trick that takes too long to learn. We go out, put our finger in, go over the finger, and then push from underneath to have it go all the way around. But so one nifty step that I picked up from this combo is that you can do things like roll it between your fingers, like this, to move the knife into different positions. It's a relatively interesting transition that isn't too hard to get the hang of. Because just once we're here and it's all the way open, we can start to just move it around in our fingers. And if you do it slowly, you can get the hang of it, and then as you're more comfortable, you can maybe do a little faster. And that's just an interesting transition to give you some other options so that the knife is in a different position when you go to do the next thing. And lastly, a bunch of Balisong tricks are based on what they call a rollover, which is where the knife is going to open up and sort of wrap around a finger or hand or something, and then come all the way around. And so one of the easiest ones to do first is that thumb rollover, where if we hold the knife like this, if we make a fist and then have our thumb out and then stick it on the thumb and hold on to just one side of the knife in this position, we give it just a little bit of flick around. You see how it wants to sort of wrap around your thumb, and just right when it it goes to touch your thumb about here. We want to let go and then grab again so that we grab the other handle and we change to this position. Like that. This one's not too hard to get the hang of. I learned it in less than a day. I don't remember exactly how long it took. But I think it's relatively easy in terms of trying to figure out what's going on and get it to work. But also relatively safe in terms of like you probably won't drop your balisong too much while you're trying to do this. Probably. Once you get that down, you can also go in reverse, which is a little bit harder, but it's kind of the same idea. You just, from that position where it ends, you then try to go back the other way. That's a pretty fundamental part of a whole lot of tricks you're going to learn, so you might as well get used to it. And once you get used to it going forwards and backwards, you can just kind of sit there and just practice back to back until you feel so comfortable doing it, you don't even need to look, and you can just casually do it. So those are pretty quick. I went through them kind of quickly. Certainly if you look on YouTube, you can find a more detailed example of each one, but I don't think they're that complicated. And just from my explanation, you'll probably be able to figure it out if you give yourself half an hour or so to play with it. But if you do have trouble, let me know. And hit me up in the comments or something, and maybe I can help you find a more useful video to explain the specific trick you're having trouble with. Or maybe it's just an issue that I could see if you had a clip or something of you trying to do it and it didn't work. We'll help each other out. Otherwise, I hope you're all doing well this weekend. I hope you go outside, get some air, get some sunlight on your face, you know, do a little exercise, at least go for a walk or something, get the circulation going, and drink a whole bunch of water, and we'll see you next week with something else.